exhaust on this car, ain't cutting it no more. What is going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today we are obviously doing some exhaust work because the exhaust in this car was so full of holes, it wasn't working properly and it sounded horrible, and I will put a couple of clips from prior videos to show you how it sounded. After months of research, we finally got the perfect exhaust for the Honda. Let's see how she sounds, guys. But overall, it wasn't good, bad situation. And today, we're gonna be custom building our own exhaust. And I'm excited because I can finally show off my welding skills again. Now, the old exhaust did what I needed to do for a little bit of time. It got me down to Florida. It got me driving for 6 months, and still to this day, it still drives on this exhaust. It was $100 and a bunch of scrap metal, and that's what we had. So today we're going to finally make a new exhaust. I got new headers, a new catback. I'm gonna be making my own mid pipe, and then I'll be putting my own mufflers on it, and I will show you guys everything of how I'm gonna do it. And I have a lot of ideas going through my brain right now of how I want to do this. Now, a number of these parts for the exhaust actually did come from Amazon, so I will link everything that was from Amazon and then link my bio, and make sure you guys click on that stuff, buy some stuff if you guys want to do this yourself. So the first piece we have is going to be our header. Our header we got from Speed Daddy. It is from it's from eBay. I don't know anything about them. Apparently they're very well known in the Corvette and the Mustang people world. They're cheap. Apparently they work well. I don't know much about the Speed Daddy brand. The only thing I know is that it came in a DNA motoring box. So I'm not sure if it's the same company, they own each other, or what has it, but that is what we'll be running for our header. And now the reason I'm saying this is gonna be a custom built exhaust and not just I'm putting an exhaust on the cars, because there's gonna be a lot of modification because I bought really cheap parts and I'm going to attempt to make them all better and work together. I bought a Spec D exhaust. I bought an expensive muffler for it. I bought half decent headers, but the headers still need modifying, and I'm gonna show you guys that now. If you go under the car, you'll see that this little tab does in fact hit the oil pan. We're gonna lob that off and it should be fine. It'll fit perfectly fine. That little tab doesn't look to be holding on to anything. Another thing I noticed about buying all these parts together is nothing lines up. The flanges on this header are ginormous. So I'll be making my own flanges for it to make it work with the catback, making my own test pipe to make it extend because I don't have a cat in this car. I've never had a cat in this car and need to make it fit somehow. So we're gonna be doing a lot of modifying to make this all work. Now my idea is to get this piece, tack it onto here, and then make a brand new flange with this and tack that on so I don't have to worry about any of this stuff right here. The reason for doing it like that, what I just said, is because that is over a 3-inch out of that outer lip, and I couldn't find a fitting that would fit over that and then reduce without having a crazy amount of reductions and honestly looking horrible. So I think this would be the cleanest way to possibly do it if I just tack that piece on so it's airtight, so that way I don't even need a gasket there, and then that way I can make my own flange. Not gonna lie, that was the ugliest welding I think I've ever done in my life because the wire was too hot and then it was too fast, and I haven't welded something like this in a long time and I'm making excuses, but it's gonna hold. I burnt through so much in the beginning, but hey, it's all about learning, right? So now that we have all that welded up, we are pretty much done welding this part of the exhaust. I did put that flange on a little crooked. Hopefully it doesn't really hinder me that much. I don't think it will because of the way the gases will be flowing out. So, because that pipe will actually fit inside the other pipe, so I think we might be okay there. But if not, well, probably still gonna be better than what we were at before. So the next thing we gotta do is kind of fit it onto the car and bolt it in before we start doing the actual mid-pipe build. These might not be the cleanest welds in the world, but hey, they hold, and that's the most important part. Now the next thing we really have to do is put the header in the car, put this mid-pipe that I just made on there, and then measure it out with the rest of the exhaust to see how it's actually going to fit together and how much I need to trim and how much I need to cut before I put on my next flange. Unfortunately, this mid-pipe is going to be super hot and I can't handle it right now, so I have to let it cool down. So the next step, yeah, we're just going to put that in there, measure up the flange, cut where we got to cut, and we should be all good to go for the next install of this whole exhaust. I gotta say, I was a little bit weary about having black headers in here, but it kind of makes it look sleek in here, and I kind of do like the look. I did scratch them up quite a bit because putting this in here was pretty tight fit, honestly. I do have to modify one thing because it does hit the oil pan, but once we get that all squared away, it should be fine. So now we can go ahead and start measuring the mid-pipe to see how much we gotta trim and what we gotta do. It's crazy how I started welding this project and I was like, wow, my welds are looking horrible. And just a few days in, it's like, they're so much better than they were. A little practice goes a long way when it comes to welding, I found. Now for all those people that are probably watching saying, I don't know what I'm doing and this is gonna be horrible and whatever, you guys really aren't wrong. I don't know what I'm doing, but how many of you guys are trying to do this stuff yourself at the same time? Don't be a hater unless you can back up your hate. Sometimes when you're doing things like fab work, you have to take 2 steps back to get where you want. I couldn't get anything to line up because I guess my flange was a little bit more crooked than I thought. So we are going to go back to that test pipe I made and install this flex pipe because this flex pipe will be able to move and hopefully we can line things up a little bit better and we don't have any more fitment issues. After a few minor setbacks, the headers are back in the car. So we're gonna see if the flex pipe fixed all of our issues. Hopefully I measure everything correctly and it lines up with the mid pipe now. Now I like to be honest on this channel and we might have fucked up a little bit, but it's fine. The mid pipe kind of drips down and then it kind of goes back up and then this is like an inch short over here somehow. But I have ways I think we might be able to fix it and make it all right. So it's my first time doing this, so don't judge me please. So I have everything mocked up at this point, just very tight, not tightly, very loosely put together. And we do have some fitment issues. So right now I'm actually not running any hangers. I'm using hose clamps to bring it as high up as possible, which should get me tighter fitment throughout the entire exhaust. Now we definitely did a lot of moving things around when building this exhaust. So lining up right now, if I don't use any additional pipe, it looks like this, which is not the fitment I want because the fitment I want looks more like this and we're going to have to figure out how to make it work. I have been doing a horrible job documenting this. Pretty much when I did my axle back, I messed up the flange when I re-welded it. So I ended up cutting it and then re-welding it and then cutting it again because I messed it up again and re-welding it again until we got to a point where it kind of lined up. The first time I did it, it was hitting my brake lines and and that's a no bueno, obviously. So right now, I have everything mocked up, welded with the new muffler on. I just need to finish all the welds, put it back in, and this exhaust should finally be done. The final fitment, I kind of wanted to have a little bit of poke in there, and we kind of achieved that. Getting the angle was way harder than it should have been, but I think this looks pretty good. There's a million gaps and holes that I have to do a lot of filling on, but to get the fitment that we wanted, we had to do some weird things. I don't have a pipe bender. I don't know how to do pie cuts and stuff. I'm not that experienced at welding. So this is where we're at. So once I fill all these gaps and holes, we will have a finished exhaust, and I'm really excited for doing my full exhaust pretty much. So at this point, we have the entirety of the shape of the ending part of the exhaust done. The only problem is we have to do some patching because the shape I kind of did here, we had to do some weird things because again, I've never done pie cuts before. I've never bent pipes before. I don't really have the tools to do some of the stuff. So we have some weird things we're going to do and some patches we're going to have to make. So I think the actual part that's on the muffler shouldn't be too difficult, but the flange part is really ugly and I don't really want to show you guys, but I will. So welders, fabricators, please look away. There were like 3 or 4 big holes we had to fill. That's why they look so chonky and ugly, but I kind of have an idea how I want to fill them. So we're going to start welding the rest of this up and then throwing the car, and the exhaust should actually be pretty much done. Even by my standards, these are not the prettiest welds and they're really ugly, but hey, they're really strong, there's no holes, and they're gonna hold. So that's the important part about welding. Now, while I'm waiting for this exhaust to cool down from welding it so I don't burn my fingers off, I was reading this really cool statistic with you guys, and I think I'm gonna share it with you guys. I'm actually gonna put it like right here. Actually, this statistic's pretty bad. Do you guys know 99.4% of you guys aren't subscribed to my channel? So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below so you guys get more awesome Civic content. We do other things like Honda Fit content, and also we're doing some Temu videos. So make sure you guys subscribe so you guys don't miss all that fun stuff. So I think the best way to do these exhaust hangers at the end here are going to try to kind of do this little cross pattern. So I'm going to be welding on a stronger piece of metal overall by not doing it to the muffler directly, because I had problems with that in the past, like this one. It's a super thin metal, it's hard to weld. So hopefully this way holds and is strong enough to do what it needs to do. Now, before we get in the car, can we first appreciate how clean these black headers look and how dope this exhaust looks? I'm nervous because I'm afraid it's going to sound really bad. So I don't know if I fully iterated what we got here. Speed Daddy headers, DNA exhaust, and then the muffler is an evil muffler. So I'll put everything in the link in the bio except for the headers because they were from eBay. But let me show you guys this setup real quick, and then we're going to start the car, and hopefully she sounds good. I forgot to charge the battery and the battery was dead. It's always good advice to make sure your car is fully charged before you try doing cool stuff like showing off the exhaust, because you're really anxious and you want to see it, but your car's dead and it won't start. If you heard that sound, we have a terrible exhaust leak coming from the headers because the gasket doesn't fill the spot correctly. I do have another gasket that I can throw on there, but I might have to go to the bottom and bolt everything again, unfortunately, because this should be really tight on there. But we're gonna try to do a little workaround to see if I can get those covered up, and hopefully it seals properly. It's definitely unfortunate when you do all that progress, you think you finished, and you do something dumb like forget to change out the header gasket to the new one. I'm not sure why the old one isn't working, but maybe it's just too thin and brittle, I don't know. New one is quite thicker, so hopefully it does the trick, but we're gonna have to go go under the car, lift it up, undo the whole mid pipe to take the headers out, unfortunately. And I don't feel like doing that right now because I'm exhausted. So we're gonna have to do this probably tomorrow, hopefully, and hopefully it won't be, it'll be quick and painless. So I spent the last like 45 minutes tightening everything down, and I'm a little concerned it's still gonna leak. I know the mid pipe has a small gap, but it's very small, so hopefully it's not too bad. But this is gonna be a huge work in progress to keep doing this because everything is so customized now and nothing wants to fit, and I might do some more cutting and everything to make it completely work. But we're gonna hopefully start it up and hopefully the headers aren't leaking at least. So unfortunately, we are still completely leaking out the headers, and I thought the thicker gasket would have fixed it, but obviously it didn't. And I can kind of feel where it's coming from, so I'm not sure if I need a different kind of gasket. But the one thing I did notice is that these hex bolts on here are very soft metal, and because of that, I can't torque them down all the way without them stripping out. So I think the next thing I have to really try is to get different bolts for the exhaust manifold, and hopefully that will kind of close everything up because it doesn't feel like that much air is coming through, but it's still enough because I can't get those bolts too tight. And again, I still have that one problem with the mid pipe that it's not all the way closed anymore because everything's twisted and contorted in there a little bit. So the unfortunate thing that I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a part 2 of this video when I eventually get around to it because I have so many things I need to install. I've been working on this exhaust for like 3 weeks now. To you guys, it's like 15 minutes, but to me, it's been like 3 weeks. And I'm gonna fix this. I just have to order some more parts for it. But until then, I'm gonna leave you guys off here. So please do me a few things. Comment, like, subscribe, keep doing all that fun stuff. Keep doing you, stay motivated. Catch you guys next time. Peace out and peace.